Recently I talked about my favorite retro games, and one of them I listed was Doom. Well, today on Retrodocs, we're going to take a look at Doom and why it is so popular. Following their first-person shooter game, Wolfenstein, which at the time was considered the grandfather of first-person shooters, and its sequel, Spear of Destiny, one of the founders of id Software, John Carmack, was researching technology for their next game. After Spear of Destiny was done, they wanted to create another 3D game using Carmack's engine, and the first idea was another entry into the Commander Keen series, but Tom Hall felt that the platformer was not the right fit for Carmack's new engine. That's when Carmack had come up with his own idea, a game where the player had to use technology to fight demons, and was based on a D&D campaign they had played earlier, with a style of Evil Dead and Aliens, and it came about with a rather interesting working title, Green and Pissed. Well, Carmack soon named the game Doom after a line from the 1986 film Color of Money. After development then began in 1992 with a development team consisting of Tom Hall, John Carmack, John Romano, Adrian Carmack, and Kevin Cloud. This marked the time when id Software soon up and moved to a new, darker building, calling it Building 666, and then also left the first publisher, Apogee Software, to self-publish Doom themselves. Early on in the development, rifts in the team began to appear, but Tom Hall soon changed that with something he created called the Doom Bible, a document that had the plot of the game, backstory, and the design goals of the team. Hall's basic backstory was when a group of scientists stationed on the moon opened a portal that demons were coming out of, and soon the whole concept of hell infected the game as the levels progressed. John Carmack hated the idea. He thought that adding a story to the game was like an adult movie. It's expected to be there, but it wasn't that important. So Hall then went back to rework the document to fit Carmack's idea of high-paced gameplay that Carmack wanted. He kept reworking until December, when the team realized they hadn't come up with a seamless level that would fit Hall's document due to the limitations that they had to face. At the start of 1993, Hall put out a press release touting Hall's story of fighting demons while knee-deep in the dead. It also talked about the new features in the game, like a multiplayer system that wasn't even designed yet, and soon they had said that they didn't need the design document, but retained some of the ideas, but actually the whole story side of it. By 1993, level design had begun to come about, and Romero and Carmack had even released a demo, but they disliked Hall's military-based level design, saying that the boxy level design was a bit uninspiring and was too much like Wolfenstein, and didn't show off the capabilities of the engine itself, so Carmack began designing his own levels. Early versions of the game brought in some arcade ideas that were present in Wolfenstein, such as score points and lives, but they were soon removed. Hall was a bit butthurt when the reception he had gotten for his idea and how much impact he had with the game, and how much he had to fight with Carmack over his ideas like flying enemies and such, that Hall spent less and less time at work, and thus causing the other 4 members of the team to just fire Hall altogether. Hall soon went back to Apogee. However, they had hired a replacement with a new game designer, Sandy Peterson, and then also another programmer, Dave Taylor. Peterson and Romero soon began designing the rest of the levels, each with a different aim. In late 1993, after the multiplayer aspects were coded, the team began playing 4-player multiplayer games Romero called Death Matches, which was inspired by fighting games like Street Fighter and Active War. Doom's signature sound was composed by the same person who did the music for Wolfenstein, Bobby Price. However, Romero directed Price to make the music sound more like techno and metal feel like Alice in Chains and Pantera. The team soon hired Jay Wilbur to work on the business and marketing of Doom. Wilbur felt that the mainstream media would have no interest in the game, so he decided that they would make the most money by selling individual copies directly to the consumer, and he decided to go with the shareware route instead. Doom got its first obstacle to deal with upon its first release by universities, but not for the content in the game, but rather due to the fact that the endless multiplayer games caused issues with the network. Hearing that, Carmack soon went into creating a patch to solve the issue. 2 years later, an expanded version of Doom was released known as The Ultimate Doom, which was released by GT Interactive, and it contained 4 new episodes. Numerous ports of the game were soon released. 2 notable ports were an unofficial one for Linux, released by Dave Taylor. Microsoft had approached id Software to develop a port for Windows to promote Windows as a gaming platform, with Bill Gates offering to buy id Software. However, id declined and Microsoft made their own port, and some of the promotional material they came up with had Bill Gates superimposed into the game. Some other consoles created ports, such as the Sega 32X, Atari Jaguar, Super Nintendo, and PlayStation, to name a few. Now, like most games, Doom wasn't without its controversies. One of the main things it was called out on was the graphic violence and satanic imagery in the game, thus causing the 32X port to have an M rating by the ESRB. Religious organizations called the game out for its diabolical nature and dubbed it a mass murder simulator. And with the verging VR technology, Doom would have more realistic killing. One of the biggest controversies that came about was when the Columbine High School massacre happened on April 20th, 1999. Eric Harris and Darren Klebold were both avid players of the game. Eric Harris even wrote in his journal that the massacre would be like Doom and Duke Nukem all combined. Harris even created his own WOD for the game called Doom WOD, in which he created representations of his classmates and teachers. However, none of them were based in Columbine High School. Today, modding games is commonplace in games like Fallout 4. However, Doom created the very first user-generated modding community that used WOD files to modify the game in various ways, which were distributed on bulletin board systems and then released in collections in computer shops on compact discs, sometimes bundled with manuals on how to modify the game. Soon the engine was licensed out to other companies to create Doom clones. Some notable ones are System Shock by Looking Glass Studios, and with the Star Wars mod, LucasArts created the game Star Wars Dark Forces. Other clones that came about such as Hexen and Hexen Beyond, Heretic, and Checksmith, which was used to promote the serial. 3D Realms then created Duke Nukem 3D. At the same time, ID was working on their next game, Quake, using the same engine. Doom is an influential game in the history of gaming. I personally was, and still am, a massive Doom fan, having once owned all the versions of Doom in the past. I had the original version, and then Ultimate Doom and Final Doom, and even the strategy guide that had maps, and even the developer codes, which you need to see one of the best secrets in the game. When you get to the final level in Final Doom, use the no-clipping code, which allows you to walk through walls, go up the stairs, and go through the wall at the end. And there, sitting on a pike, will be the head of General Romero that you can shoot at. If you ever played Doom or any of the games back in the day, let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscription button and ring the bell so you're notified of the next video. I'm Paul saying peace out and stay frosty.